The New York Times is in a case with Project Veritas, a case that is very revealing because the type of defense that the Times is adopting in this case. So this is a case in which Project Veritas released a video, or perhaps more than one video, in which they were showing a Minneapolis Somali immigrant essentially being part of a kind of vote-buying scheme. The guy was going door to door, and he was telling voters, this year you're going to vote for Ilhan. When we sign the voting document and they fill it out, that's when they give us the money. So he was basically saying that people are going to be paid for voting for Ilhan Omar. A clearly corrupt and illegal scheme depicted on camera. So the New York Times did a series of stories on these, and two of its reporters in particular, Maggie Astor and Tiffany Zhu, HSU. And these people basically said, they call these stories lies and disinformation. In fact, they said they were part of a coordinated disinformation effort, and they said that these were unidentified sources and no verified evidence, no verifiable evidence. Now, of course, Project Veritas goes, they're not unidentified, they're identified in the video, and the verifiable evidence is the video itself. And so where's the disinformation? So Project Veritas sued the Times for libel, but here's where the plot thickens, because the Times basically then says, and remember, in the Times article, there was no effort to refute these videos. The Times didn't say, no, that guy wasn't doing that, he was doing something else. Not at all. There's no effort to show that the videos are inaccurate at all. So the Times goes in its defense, this is not a claim of fact. This is only a claim of opinion. So the Times is now saying that their word disinformation doesn't mean, their word lies don't refer to lies. Rather, this was merely the opinion of the two writers. Well, if it's the opinion of the two writers, Judge Charles Wood says, he goes, why didn't it appear in the opinion section? The Times is actually putting it in the news section. So what the Times is doing is blurring or obliterating the distinction between news and opinion. In fact, Judge Wood, who's hearing the case, pointed out that the Times' own editorial policies, which are published on the New York Times website, prohibit news reporters from injecting their subjective opinions into news stories published by the New York Times, because then the audience, the New York Times readers, can't tell the difference. Is the New York Times merely stating an opinion, or is it actually stating news or facts? The judge gave a very telling example. He says, if you're talking, for example, about a fight of the century, and you say, you know, that fight of the century was really disappointing, or that it wasn't worth the pay-per-view fee. He goes, that is a claim of opinion. You're saying, it was overrated. But he goes, that's completely different than reporting to the public that pay-per-view knowingly marketed the fight that was fixed. That claim is a claim about facts. And you can't take refuge once you accuse them of fixing the fight, say, oh no, that was just my opinion. No, the judge goes, that is open for scrutiny as to whether or not you defamed this person. So the bottom line of it is the case is moving forward. By the way, there's another case coming up in which the New York Times, this is involving New York Times versus Sarah Palin. The New York Times said that Sarah Palin's incitement rhetoric, she incited the 2011 shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. Now, the shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was done by a mentally ill guy of no known political affiliation who was completely unconnected to Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin had nothing to do with it. He wasn't even aware of her so-called her rhetoric of incitement. So that case is coming up in August. The bottom line of it is, I think we all know that the Times is no longer a real newspaper. The Times is now essentially New York's version of Pravda. It's essentially a wing or an extension of the left wing of the Democratic Party. And what's particularly interesting, and I think in a way a very positive development, is that the Times, ceasing to be a newspaper, is now making the Times less it has less recourse to the normal libel protections that you could invoke in the past. Hey, listen, I'm a reputable newspaper, I'm obviously presenting facts. No, they now admit that they're not presenting facts. Even what appears in the news pages is actually opinion, but often tendentious opinion and lies.